Greetings, and welcome everyone. You are listening to the Human Butterfly Effect podcast with RDW, and I am yours truly, RDW. What up, though? Welcome. Greetings to you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. On today's podcast episode, the title is Control Alt Delete, the plan to erase and distort American history. Now, before we dive into our topic, I just want to invite all of my listeners, the new ones as well as the returning listeners, to visit our website, rdwcreations.com. Now, on a previous episode, I mentioned to you guys that it is not the media's job to educate us. It's not. A lot of us, we become upset when we receive misleading details or information. But the truth is, we haven't done our homework. And so when you're listening to this podcast, I am not the exception. You should check me out too. Look us up, see what we have done in and around our community, just so that you can have an idea of who you are listening to and what we're all about. So check us out. Again, our website is rdwcreations.com. I will have a minor update or a few minor updates, I should say, at the end of today's recording. So if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that we often start out with a question, and today will be no different. I'm going to get my timer going for you all. And today I'd like to play a little game. Let's play the thought experiment game. What is a thought experiment? That means I want you to think about what I'm going to say and really give it some deep intellectual thought. I want you all to imagine living in a world where there were no books, there were no stories, there was no documentation, there was nothing written down, past or present or future. I want you to imagine living in a world where that was the case. And I want you to think about, what type of life do you think you would have? What type of world do you think you would live in if books did not exist, if the written word did not exist, if there were zero documentation of anything? What type of world do you think we would live? What type of life do you think you would have had without the written word? So I have been working in information technology for 2 plus decades, and I won't date myself because I am getting a little seasoned. But when I look in the mirror, I still see that youthful smile. So I'm not going to date myself. However, I mention this because I want to share with you something that is commonly spoken or believed amongst IT professionals. And it's not exclusive to my line of work, but it is something that's common. If you know someone who works in IT in any capacity, you should ask them this question. We say, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. That is a common sentiment or expression, if you will, that most IT professionals or departments maintain. They say, if it's not in your notes, if you did not write it down, forget who you told, forget who told you. All that verbal stuff, don't shake. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And so the reason why they say that is because they want us to be thorough in our notes and documentation. And the purpose for that is so the next agent or the next analyst that comes along and tries to assist the user will have some recordings of what happened previously. That way they're not misusing their time or spinning their wheels. It's very important in the world of IT, and I suppose it's probably important in other fields as well. But documentation, if it's not there, it didn't happen. The next analyst has no idea what was done or what needs to be done or how to even fix an issue if there's no notes, no written notes. And so the reason why I brought that up and the reason why I asked your question to you is that I want you guys to understand that without the written word, all history is not only lost, but it's vulnerable to being altered. What history? RDW. All history. My history, your family's history, your ancestors' history, your cultural history, your work history, your social history, your entertainment history, your logistical history, your emotional history, your physical history, your health history, your philosophical history. They're all gone if they're not written down or documented. All of them. So there's been a trend in American culture. They are doing these book bans, and to my understanding, there's been thousands of books that have been banned to this date. When they ban a book, they also burn it, which means all of its contents, its stories, its information, its history is lost. Now, book bans are only one of so many ways or so many challenges, I should say, regarding this issue. Book bans, that's only a sliver. That's only a crack of the issue. Other things they're doing is they're doing crackdowns on universities. They're attacking free speech protests. We have attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they've also been scrubbing the historic achievements of minorities in the military and other areas of our government. I want you guys to think about why that is. Why do you think they're banning these books? Why do you think they're erasing some of these military servicemen and women off the record? Why do you think there's now being an attack on the Department of Education? There's also been an attack on libraries. In fact, any organization that's providing services or information regarding minorities, regarding political opposition, regarding anything that helps the poor or the homeless or the hungry, all of those organizations, nonprofits, schools, and otherwise, they're being targeted and they're being forced to adjust their programming as it relates to these issues. Many of them have been forced to delete things from their website, especially if it has the word gay in it or black in it. It's being removed, and they've been saying that it's been an honest mistake. But I believe otherwise. I believe there is a concerted effort to erase and distort American history. And the reason for that is there's several reasons for it. I don't know if I can cover everything in this podcast, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to. First of all, let's talk about some of these university crackdowns. So, as I understand it, there's been a lot of letters that has been sent to several universities, and what they want them to do is adopt stricter disciplinary and admissions policies. Specifically, if they have anything that's geared towards minority students or minority advancement, they want them to get rid of it. This is a real letter that's been sent by the federal government to a variety of nonprofits and other organizations that provide supportive services around these issues. Now, I don't watch a lot of the idiot box. I have been binging lately. I will admit TV is a guilty pleasure of mine, but it's something that I try not to spend a lot of time on. I know recently I have, but generally speaking, I don't really watch a lot of TV. I do a lot of reading, and I'm also a music connoisseur. That's where my attention goes. I don't watch a lot of TV, and the reason why I don't watch TV is because I believe that it's an idiot box. Do you ever look at all the content and foolishness that's on the TV? And while it may be entertaining, it's also a distraction. It keeps us from focusing on serious issues that deserve our attention. And one is of many. We have many right now, but one is the concerted effort to erase and distort American history. And the reason why I brought up the idiot box is because I mentioned I've been binging lately and I've been watching a lot of different television shows and documentaries. And one of the movies that I recently watched was entitled Fahrenheit, I think it's 451, Fahrenheit 451. I think that's what it's called. And this movie is essentially about what we're talking about today. They lived in a society where the government controlled the narrative about everything. Books were illegal. If you were caught with a book or reading a book, you were executed. That's the gist of this movie. And when I was watching it, I thought about how that parallels what's going on in our society now. If you express yourself and it's not in line with the popular sentiment or traditional sentiment, is discouraged. If you are a business or a university or a nonprofit and you're participating in diversity or equity or inclusionary programs, if you're trying to help feed the hungry and the poor, if you're doing anything that uplifts or showcase minorities, your funding is at stake. There's this project called the PAD Project, and this project is a program facilitated by a nonprofit, and it helps minorities pursue business degrees. Well, it was flagged for DEI by the federal government, and so all of the recipients of fundings for those programs that allowed them to pursue degrees in business that help them with their entrepreneurial skills, a lot of those fundings for those programs are being erased. The federal government is deeming them as racially discriminatory because they're trying to help minorities pursue businesses and entrepreneur opportunities and degrees. In fact, more than 50 universities are currently under investigation under the anti DEI crackdown. And as I mentioned, they've all been accused of being racially discriminatory. And the participants of these programs or the universities and nonprofits that are being targeted are specifically those that provide Middle Eastern, South Asian, and African studies. So it's not a paintbrush across the board for everyone. They're not erasing and distorting history for everyone. It's only certain people, certain organizations that are being targeted. And the reason why this is especially dangerous because, as I mentioned, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And so, therefore, you have to think beyond yourself. You have to think about generations that will come after you. You have to think about your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. What will they know about your accomplishments? What will they know about your struggles? What will they know about your ability to overcome and learn and thrive without documentation? If you don't write it down, if you don't record it, anyone is able to come over and alternate it. They can change it. And what proof would we have to say that isn't correct? Because we don't have anything written down. And if we wait until it affects us, in other words, if you wait until it's a book that you like is banned before you speak up, if you wait until it's someone in your family, a serviceman or woman whose history has been obliterated from the record books, if you wait until it's your written word or your protest or your advocacy, if you wait until your free speech is targeted, it'll be too late. Now, I want to give you guys something to think about. As you know, I've mentioned I entitled this podcast Control Alt Delete. And in a way, I'm a nerd. You guys know that. I'm sort of paying homage to my career as an IT professional. But those words, Control Alt Delete, they all mean something. And so I want us to go over that because I think it's symbolic. They're banning books and they're distorting or eliminated a lot of our digital footprints. But let's just talk about what those words control alt delete mean. So the word control, as defined by the Oxford Language Dictionary, the word control, as we know, means the power to influence or direct people's behavior. Let me repeat that. The power to influence or direct people's behavior. Hmm. Influence, power, direct behavior. The word alt, ALT, is intended as a challenge. That's what the word alt means. The meaning of the word alt means to break down, to challenge, to change.